So let's find out here. Have you ever been one of those that have come around the corner and all of a sudden you see this big steep mountain in front of you that you were not expecting? Well, it's happened to us, and we're going to talk about that today. Hi everyone, my name's David and I am with Tigner Adventures. My wife Ninette and our little cat Tansy. We live in our motorhome full time, and right now we are boondocking, or it's mooch docking at my brother-in-law's place. We're actually helping them with their house right now that they're building. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was in our trip planning, and you know, if you look back at some of our other videos, we just finished a video on RV Trip Wizard, and one of the problems that we have with RV Trip Wizard was the elevation of different places that we're going and being surprised by those particular elevations. And so if you look here, this was a major problem that we didn't expect, and this is we routed ourselves through up over Teton Pass, just out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, to go over to Rexburg to meet some friends. And in looking at RV Trip Wizard, I thought that the route that went through Teton Pass was a better route than going through Yellowstone National Park. That was not the case. And so we had a very difficult time going up that hill. It's a 10% grade. There are no pull-out lanes, no passing lanes. And luckily, when we were doing that, it was early in the morning and foggy and rainy, and so because otherwise we probably would have just overheated. It was such a strenuous job for the motorhome to pull us up over that. We did take our car off when we seen the warning signs, and we just had the motorhome itself going up and the car following behind. But people were crazy. They were passing us on these mountain corner roads, and it was just very, very dangerous. And so, the other thing, we were only going 5 miles an hour all the way up that hill. And so the motorhome was really struggling. Maybe some of that was my fault, because I think I shifted it down to first gear or something. I don't know what I was doing, but boy, we really struggled. And so then I started thinking, well, there's got to be a better way to do this. And if you look in our comments below, you'll see that we do have something there that's called Mountain Directory. And that is actually a trucker's app that they use. And so I heard about this and thought, you know what, we need to look into that. So one of the things I'm really interested in is, have you ran into that problem? If you have, hey, leave some comments below. Let us know where you ran into the problems, because you know what, maybe that'll help everybody else not to run into those problems. But other than that, the better way to do it then, if you don't have word of mouth, the next best thing is to have an actual app that you can look at to see what is going on. So if you look right here, I've brought this web site up on my computer from the link that's on our content page, and here it shows Mountain Directory for truckers, RV, and motorhome drivers. Boy, I'll tell you, what a deal. So if you look down through here, you can see that, you know, there's a lot of information here just talking about it. All this isn't the actual app, all right? This is just the advertisement page for the deal. You can buy the books or you can buy the electronic version, and we have purchased the electronic version, so I'm going to show you how we did that. And man, we love this. So we're just going to kind of give you a review of this app and how nice it is and how detailed it is and how it will make your trip planning and traveling a lot better. So anyway, as you go down through this, you'll see there's all kinds of information that it talks about on the actual website. And at the very bottom and also at the very top, there is an option to say order the ebooks. Now, you can buy the books. You know what, I've seen it's crazy pricing on these. Okay, on Amazon or just searching for them, people have got these really expensive. These ebooks, if you go in to order the ebooks, is only, I mean, they've broken it down into East Coast, West Coast. All right. So if you look down through, this is the actual order form for the ebooks themselves. Much better than carrying the books themselves around with you, because you download this and it's yours. All right, there's no fees to keep using it or anything. It's a one-time fee, and you can see that the mountain directory for the West Coast area, or the west of the country, is $17, and the east side is $15. But if you buy the whole thing, it's $25, and we bought the whole country. $25 is really pretty cheap for the information that's actually obtained in this within this book, or within these ebooks. So now here it shows for Windows, but I am running on a Macintosh, and so I sent them a message and said, hey, do you not have this for Mac? And they said they do, but it was just a little different setup. And so they sent me the link for it. I paid the $25 and I downloaded it, and basically what it's doing is it's running through, it's a data file that's protected, but then it runs through to actually run the software. The app is actually called Javelin 3, and so if you look up here at the top, hopefully that will come up there, you can see it's Javelin 3. You open up this file, and it's their way of protecting this so that you can't pass it around. So but for $25, I mean, just buy your own copy. I mean, it's so cheap, and this is it right here. This is the table of contents. This is the whole books, all the books for the West and East Coast. So as I look down through here, here's my table of contents. A regular disclaimer saying we're not responsible for the way you drive, where you drive, I don't know. You know how those disclaimers go. Anyway, it's a really, I mean, they got back to me right away when I sent them an email, so I think the company is pretty good in that sense, and great support, so it's pretty good. And they're basically just saying, hey, this is our stuff and not yours, so you're just buying a license to look at it. So here is the start. So it has all the different notes and how to use the ebooks and all that kind of stuff that you can look at. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to show you the actual directories. Now this is the Mountain Directory West. You can see all the countries, you can see all the states that are included in that. And then here is the East and the states that are included in that. So of course there's no major mountain passes that are out in the mid west areas, so you don't have all the mid areas of the country. You just have the places where the mountains are. And those of us that are out in the west, the mountains that we have to go over are really tall mountains, and really tall, or really big drops compared to the East Coast. The East Coast mountains are not as high, but I found out that, it doesn't necessarily matter if you're trying to go up a mountain that's 14,000 feet when you get to the top, or if it's a mountain that you're trying to go up that's 1,000 feet. It really depends on the route that you're taking and how steep the highway is that you're actually on. And that's where this particular program actually breaks things down so that you can figure it out. So let's just start. Right now I'm in Utah, so I'm going to click on Utah, and you can see that what it does is it brings up a map of Utah, and then the map is broken down. It shows all the major roads, and it has these little warning triangles that are pointing to all the different highway numbers, in this particular case, that are in Utah. So I can look at any one of these to see, what, it's talking about. What's wrong with that particular route? How about this one over here, this Highway 6? This is actually going off to Lehman Caves in Nevada, and there's a triangle here, so I don't know what's going on here, but let me go ahead and just click on that triangle, and it says Highway 6 east of Nevada state line Both sides of this hill are posted at 8%, but neither side seems nearly that steep. It is good 2-lane road with 40 to 45 mile an hour curves. The westbound descent is about 6 miles long, so most of which is 4 to 5%, with a couple of short sections of 6%. The eastbound descent is 8 miles long, the first at 4.5, and then the others at 5.6, and the short section at 7 to 8%. So you can see it kind of breaks it out. It even goes into details as far as on some places to give you the actual mileposts where things start. But this is actually breaking it down. So it's saying the first 4.5 miles of the east descent, meaning if you were eastbound descent, so you're heading towards the east, you're descending into Utah basically, or that direction. And this is what you're going to see. So just turn that around. If you are headed towards Nevada, so now I'm headed westbound, then I can easily look at the east descent and say, okay, well, if they're descending 7 and 8%, okay, then I've got to pay attention to that because I've got to climb 7, 8%. So, I mean, there's two things we've got to worry about, right? It's braking, going downhill, and it's trying to get up the hill. Those two things are concerns. So anyway, that's that little section. And if I just say back to Utah map, you can see that I've got lots of them here that it's actually talking about, and it kind of just gives you a heads up of wherever you might actually be going. So let's look down here. This is I-70, and I've had some issues on I-70, but here's one. Here's number 2 triangle on I-70. So let's look at I-70. So I-70 just east of I-15 in Utah. So those of you that have been that way, you go down I-15, that splits off and it turns into I-70 heading over into Colorado. So this is a summit near milepost 7 on I-70, and this is going eastbound. So the descent westbound from the summit starts about 4 miles of 5 and 6% grade. So you can see that it even lists here. It's telling you the milepost, where the runaway truck ramps are. Hopefully we don't ever have to run into that problem. But, those ramps are there for emergency purposes. And you're a truck, basically. You are a heavy vehicle, and if you lose your brakes, they overheat or whatever the case may be, it's nice to know that there are some safety measures that maybe you could use, okay? Let me know, or let me tell you though, if you have to use that runaway truck ramp, then use it. But you're going to have a lot of damage to your rig, so if you do use it. So just beware of that it's much better to prepare ahead of time and gear down, do all the necessary things to make sure that you never have to do that. All right, so those are things that you got to keep in mind. But this little package here, it kind of breaks that down and gives you some ideas. So let's go back to, let's just actually go to the table of contents. And I want to go into Colorado. I want to show you some things that we've been caught on Colorado that's really tough. So let's look at Vail. I know some of you guys have had to have gone across I-70 and done this Vail route. So this route, boy, I tell you, it's got a 7% grade on it. Man, and it's a long grade. I mean, this is 7% for 7 miles, so that's pretty steep. And we were going 15 miles an hour up that 7% grade for 7 miles. That was a long, hard pull. And in that particular case, we were new, and we still had our rig hooked to us. So we have a tow dolly, or sorry, we don't have a tow dolly anymore. If you look at one of our past videos, we don't do tow dolly anymore. We do flat towing. So we were flat towing our vehicle up over the top of this. And I'll tell you, my rig works pretty good just going on the flat. Okay, going uphill, it actually does really good, except when it's pulling the towed, okay, our tow vehicle, because the tow vehicle weighs almost 5,000 pounds. So our rig is rated at 25,000 pounds max. And so we run under 20,000 pounds normally, except when we're towing. And when we're towing, we're up there around 24,000 pounds, and so the rig has to work that much harder to be able to pull that vehicle. And we can see that in our gas mileage. For example, if I'm not pulling the car and I'm just driving the motorhome, I'm getting 9-10 miles to the gallon. I mean, it's really nice. But if I'm towing the car, I'm getting about 5.5-6 miles to the gallon pulling the car. And that's because the car weighs a lot. That's our storage shed, basically. That's where all our stuff is, and we've put a lot of things in there so that we don't have it in our rig. We're not making our rig overweight, so we've put the weight into our car. And overall, we're still within specs as far as, you know, how much our rig can tow and, you know, braking and things like that. But it makes the motorhome work that much harder. And so when we're going up a long, steep grade, then, you know, things, you know, really start to, you know, slow us down, and it takes us a while. So this particular one, this is I-70. Now, these are major freeways, okay? So when you're thinking that, oh, I'm on a major freeway, life's good, just be aware that that's not always the case. In fact, actually over in California, let me see if I can pull up California. Let's go to California North. Here's California. California North, here we go, number 8. Look at this. This is Donner Pass off of I-80. I have actually been riding, my dad was a truck driver, and so I was riding with him, and I seen a truck pulled over on the exit ramp of Donner Pass, and his brakes, he was just standing there watching, and there was smoke boiling out of his brakes. I mean, they were really, he had some serious problems. And I was asking my dad, I says, what do you do? And he says, you just stand there with a fire extinguisher. There's nothing you can do. And it's usually the truckers that are coming from the East Coast, because they don't have the same kind of mountain passes that we have, like in this particular case in California. And so because those mountain passes are so much more extreme, they have, most big trucks and some of you guys that have diesel pushers have engine brakes, and so those engine brakes can slow you down and help keep your speed down. But a lot of truckers that are coming from the East Coast, that the trucks are back, I mean, not everything has engine brakes, and so, you know, a lot of times that's just an extra expense, and maybe you don't have it. In our case, we don't have engine brakes. We are a gas rig, and so when we are going down a steep grade, we have to downshift, and we just kind of try to, you know, keep our speed going slow. And so let me give you a tip about that too, that was given to me by another trucker, and that is, if you are doing something like we have to do, so we downshift and then we're going down the hill, pick your speed that you're going to go, and keep in mind that there are curves and things, so you got to plan ahead. But if you are, for example, going to go 40 miles an hour down this steep hill because the curves are all 40 miles an hour, then you let your rig go up to 45 miles an hour, and then you push on the brakes until you're back down to 40. So just push on them real quick, you're down to 40, you let off. And then you kind of build up that speed to 45, push on them real quick, and let off. And then that way your brakes have a lot better chance of not overheating too much. And the other thing is do not stop at the bottom of the hill. All right, so if you're coming to the bottom of the hill, keep on going, because the wind that is blowing by those brakes as you're driving is cooling that off. Okay, so if your brakes are getting hot, stopping at the bottom of the hill is not the best thing to do, because that's when you have to really brake hard, and that's when they're really going to overheat. So it's better to do things in slow things. Take it moderately, go slow, gear down, use your engine brakes if you have engine brakes, and then you don't have those kinds of problems as much. So that's going downhill. But there are issues going uphill, like I said, and so this little application that we have here is pretty slick on telling us, you know, what's going on. And you can see, just looking around through the thing, they have a number of different states that are listed here, and you can, you know, look at those things to figure out exactly, you know, what you're up against. And sometimes just knowing is better than not knowing. So let's, you know, and then some places, you know, they're going to say that you don't want to drive, for example. But let's just say this route over here by Cottonwood, all right? So this is 6 to 7% with 30-mile-an-hour curves, but it has an 8% grade for the next 2 miles. Truckers use low gear. So you can see that this particular app is filled with all kinds of information, and so that's why we like to use it. I just wanted to make you guys aware of it. It's really well worth the $26 that it costs, and that's if you buy the whole, or $25 if you buy the whole country. If you're only going to travel in the West, then maybe only buy it for the, whatever it was, 17 bucks. So you can see that it's pretty cheap, and it's well worth having to kind of track out what is going on, and for you to be safe as you're actually traveling. So I'm hoping that this is something that you might be able to use. Again, let us know, let us know what kind of situations you've ran into, especially, not knowing ahead of time and being stuck in different situations that you felt that was, one, not safe, maybe something that you could have done differently, and just, let us know, because the idea is to share this with everybody, and we all are trying our best to be safe out there, and it's a learning curve, especially for new people that are just starting out. The more you drive your rig, the more you get used to it, the more you understand how it works, and so that's great for those who've been around. We've been doing this for 4 years now, so I've got a pretty good idea, and I drove truck before, so I got a pretty good idea how things work. It's just that I still get myself into problems, but I don't, to think of those that have never done any of that before, it's got to be a scary situation. And so if we can give those individuals information that helps them, for example, the little tip I gave you on braking, I didn't really pay attention to that before when I was in a big truck. I had engine brakes. I, never really thought about it that much. And, from when I drove truck, to when I started driving motorhome, it's been a little while, so I probably forgot half the stuff I learned when I drove truck anyway. But, it's nice to be able to have someone give you those ideas so that to make life safer. And that's what this is all about, and sharing this information with you. So at this point, we're just going to leave it at that. I hope that this app will be something that you look at. It's really pretty nice, and it's well worth the $25 that it costs to buy it. And so try it out, but mainly be safe out there, and we'll just see you down the road, and hopefully it'll be on our next video. Have fun.